All right, good evening. We will call to order the special meeting of the Coppell City Council at 6 o'clock. Tonight we're here to talk about the five-year forecast overview. Just a second. So first point of business is a citizen's appearance, and we have no citizen appearance either electronically or in writing.
That is correct, sir. No.
Thank you. All right, so next point on the agenda is our five-year forecast. Just a couple of quick comments about forecast before we turn it over to our finance staff. For those of us on council who are kind of budget nerds, this is an exciting time of year typically, believe it or not. Typically, when citizens ask me, why don't you guys just spend a little time and look through the budget, not realizing staff's been looking through the budget for 3 months now already, and we'll spend hundreds of hours on it between now and August. In the past, this five-year forecast was kind of a very conservative look at here's all the cost we expect, and a very conservative look at kind of where we thought appraisals and revenues would be, which created a number that scared everybody. It scared new council members and it scared the public when they saw the projected tax rate. But it's just a starting point. The last couple of years, because of potential regulation and legislation from Austin, combined with COVID last year, we didn't have this process because there just really was no way for us to make a projection. And then you'll see tonight, if you came expecting numbers, what our staff has done a great job of, as they always do, is said, let's look at this process and see if there's a better way to do that. So council gets their first look tonight at a new process that then will turn into numbers sometime in the future. So hopefully I didn't take away your thunder.
Nope. All right, good evening, council. I'm Jennifer Miller. I'm the Director of Finance. I want to thank you for allowing us this time to present to you the new and improved and awesome five-year forecast. The agenda we're going to follow tonight is there'll be an introduction and the history of the five-year forecast. It was previously called the five-year plan. I may say five-year plan because it's an old habit that I'm trying to break. Then we'll go over the new process and the approach that was taken to develop this plan. Then Tamara will take some time and show you an overview of the new format. We'll open it up for your questions, and we're asking for your feedback on the document format. And then Casey will go through and review the budget calendar for you, so you make sure that we've got all the meetings scheduled on your calendars for our budget workshops. All right, tonight is going to be your sneak peek preview of the new five-year forecast document. We have spent the last year revising the entire process. We reviewed the intended purpose of the document, and then we tried to create a single document that has a lot of information about the city. So this is our first year of an entirely new process, so the timing, the numbers, the content, we're still reviewing all of that. And then after tonight's feedback, we will try to finalize some things and then get to you the new document as soon as we can. Oops. The history of the five-year forecast/plan. The first plan was developed in 1998. When Coppell was growing and our culture was in its infancy. We had the 2030 plan. It was developed for a growing community. So programs, projects, and staffing were developed with a community growth mindset. And then in this plan, we let the property tax go where it needed to go to fund all of the total expenditures. Coppell of today. Coppell has transitioned from that growing community to one of a maintenance stage. We're now faced with the property tax constraints of Senate Bill 2, and the sales tax is being impacted by Rule 3.334, as well as some additional sales tax legislation currently being reviewed in Austin. But our culture is clearly defined and very strong. So why is it time for change? Well, the current process that we were following did not reflect our culture. It had the departments developing their budgets in silos. The process has been one that moves the organization from creating a document in silos to one that facilitates a citywide collaboration and coordination. This process also demonstrates the cohesive organization, and it also aligns with our culture. The current process did not reflect the city's move from a growth community to one of being a maintenance. The new process will help shift our mindset from building new things to maintaining and repurposing what we have. And it also shows that the departments can work together to serve the community. The rating agencies evaluate our long-term planning on whether or not it's realistic. So this new document also is a long-term strategic plan that includes expenditures that will accomplish the goals of 2040, but that are still being constrained by Senate Bill 2 and Rule 3.334. And this new process will help us streamline our budget process so that during the budget time we can focus on some of the unexpected things that might come up. And I'm going to turn the presentation over now to Sammy Lujan, our Deputy Police Chief, and he's going to go over how the process was developed.
While Sammy's coming down, I failed to explain earlier why the mayor is not up here and I am. She is representing the city away from City Hall this evening as president of Texas Municipal League, and our mayor pro tem is out of town too. So this is not a coup. This is the normal course of things, and that's why I'm up here. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I had to scratch off mayor, council. I had to scratch mayor off today. Thank you, Jennifer. Council, thank you for your time today. Again, my name is Sammy Lujan. I'm a Deputy Chief of Police, not the Finance Department. The reason I'm here is to present to you a new document process that we thought would be better given by a non-financial person, and that's me. And at the same time, propose a new way to showcase our departments to the citizens and educate them on our operating budget. In support of me presenting this document, Finance is here as my backup. And this is probably the only time you'll ever hear the police department call for backup and Finance rolls in. We started meeting in 2020, and we came up with an idea of changing how the 5-year budget department looks. We wanted the document to encompass all departments and allow for a collaborative approach, a team effort. We came up with a new way to process our own data. We created a ranking system for each department, their needs, and we made sure we integrated the Vision 2040 pillars. And not lost in our conversations were two subjects that always came up, SB2 and Rule 3.334. We wanted to make sure that we had a revenue forecasting policy that considered their potential impact. But we also wanted the process to tell our stories, from the pillars to the process to the public. We wanted the document to be defining and have a purpose, and we wanted to make it better. We believe we created that document. We created a prioritization process tool that captured each department's needs. It was a deep dive into our respective budgets. We wanted to ensure that our requirements were aligned with our culture and Vision 2040. We also upgraded our existing executive summary layout. We did this to detail those needs and to showcase our respective departments. This collaborative approach by the deputy directors not only aligns with our culture, but it also demonstrated the quality of personnel that serve this community. Each deputy director contributed to this process. This was our culture in action. When we presented the final product to the directors, we were asked what we thought about the new process. And I used the phrase behind the curtains, because we got to see how finance worked. We got to see how each department, 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 how each de justified and needed to see what needs they needed, sorry, what they needed to do with their projects, their programs. And this collaborative approach shed light on each department's needs, which helped each of us to better understand our role in the city. It also guided us to be realistic to consider both political and social needs of our community. And I also learned the phrase, scrub your line items, something new I've never heard. So here to give you a sample of our new 5-year forecast document is Tamara Smith. Thank y'all for y'all's time.
Good evening, council members and city manager land. Tonight I will be outlining our 5-year forecast for you. Before I get started, if we can make sure that we hold all of the questions, because this is a new document, until the very end, we will answer every single question you have. What an honor it was to work with the assistant directors on our new 5-year forecast. The forecast was created with one view in mind: to engage and educate our citizens. The forecast, or with the rollout of the 2040 strategic plan last year, we decided to focus on incorporating the new 7 pillars from the citizen-led 2040 strategic plan, as well as our 8th pillar, the foundation. Through several months of collaboration, we created an innovative way to provide our future strategic plan to our community. In front of you tonight is a sample document of the outline of our new 5-year forecast. While we continue to work on the document, we wanted to give you, council members, an opportunity to learn about our new process. The purpose of this document is to engage the staff and the citizens in the process of long-range planning for the city. The document intends to educate the employees of the organization and citizens on the future activities of the city. The document creates a story on how the city of Coppell will incorporate our citizen engagement with the operation and financial decision-making of the next 5 years. As we developed our outline, we started with engaging, educating, and participating action words. The intent is to educate our citizens on the what, how, and why we are developing a new strategic plan. The what is, what are we doing with our 2040 strategic plan with the future plans of our organization? And the why is it important for our citizens to continue to participate in our citizen engagement opportunities? The intent is to make this an easy-to-read document outlining our organization's strategic plans for the next 5 years. The format of the document is outlined with the introduction section, financial section, and citizen engagement section, with an appendix at the end. We start with our introduction section. As we go through the document, you will see that we have our engage action words, as well as our educating and participating to create the story for our citizens. We have a how to read the 5-year forecast. This is an opportunity for us to educate our citizens on how to read our document. Because this is such a new document, we wanted to make sure that every question was answered. We follow that with a message from the city manager stating why we have developed a new process, as well as encouraging them to participate. As I stated earlier, the purpose of this document is to engage and to educate. We thought this was important to include in our document, as well as the mission and the vision of our organization. The citizen-led 2040 strategic plan created 7 pillars. We know that this is important to the citizens, and we included the 7 pillars and the descriptions. We also wanted to make sure that the citizens know that we are listening to them, and we thank them for all of their participation. It was because of them that we developed the 2040 strategic plan. The 2040 strategic plan development is an example for the citizens to see how we developed our plan. And the council department alignment with the 2040 strategic goals showcases the citizen-led 2040 strategic plan and the alignment of the departments. This showcases what Deputy Police Chief Sammy Lujan said was the prioritization matrices. Each of those matrices were developed to show the citizens that our departments are aligning with their pillar. So each department has showcased how they are aligning with the 2040 pillars. We then go into the financial analysis section, our educate action word. We start off with our revenues and then go into our general fund. Each of these sections is outlined with the same content. A how to read section to make sure that we answer all the questions the citizens have. We don't want them to assume anything. We want to make sure that we are able to educate them on the reasoning for the content in the document. Then we start with an overview. The overview shows what the content to follows is. It gives them a high-level description of what that section is about. We also have staffing requests and additional requests. Because this is a strategic plan, each of our departments were asked to develop anything that they might need in the next 5 years. This is just a strategic plan. It is not a budget plan or anything that can be added. It is strictly just a plan of action for a department. So we do have staffing needs and additional requests in there. Followed by executive summary. This showcases the department and allows them to describe their divisions as well as their alignment with the 2040 strategic plan. The water sewer fund follows, special revenue, and debt. These all have the same context as the general fund section. The capital improvement project section is different. Because this is such a robust information, the Public Works Department has developed a way to color code our capital improvement projects. This allows the reader to have an ease of reading to see what a project is and how it's funded. We still start out with a how to read and an executive summary. But then we follow with a key. This key is what the Public Works Department developed. They showcase the project in color-coded form with a following funding source in color code to make it easier to read. Here's a sample section of the street rehabilitation and reconstruction projects. As you can see, all of the projects that are under the street rehabilitation and reconstruction are gray, and the funding sources are color-coded. This shows that those funding sources are providing the funds to that project. We then follow with a description. These are the project descriptions showcasing what the project is about, as well as pictures of the project or maps of the streets that are going to be have construction on them. Now, remember, this is just a sample. There are 300 pages to the document, so we just have a few pages here. So there are several different items in each of these sections. I'm just showcasing a few of them. The last section of our engage educate, and participate is our citizen engagement. This was our favorite part because we wanted to make sure we incorporated all of the opportunities that our citizens could have to participate with our organization. As you can see, our action word is there to help with the storyline. We start with our community profile demographics. This showcases the city that they're living in. We then follow up with current statistics of our departments. This allows them to know what our departments are doing to service them. We then have an educational programs. This is showcasing what our organization is doing to educate our community, as well as a follow-up community leadership program in case any citizens want to lead in our community. We also have volunteer opportunities. All of our departments highly suggest our citizens to volunteer. This is how we can produce the things that we produce for our citizens, followed by the Parks and Recs projects, anything like that. All of them need volunteers, and this is a way for them to participate. We also thought that it would be very educational for them to learn about our government. Not all citizens of a city know about their government. This gives them an opportunity to learn about their boards and commissions and other opportunities for them to participate in being a council member or running for being council members. This showcases the elective office requirements and running for office to let them know that they too can be a part of our organization. And if a citizen needs numbers on concerns they might have, whether it be damage to a road or something that they need done for their water line, this gives them an opportunity to have phone numbers or forms at their hands. Each of these, see the form is colored, each of those is hyperlinks. Our document has several hyperlinks in there for them to click on and go to our City of Coppell website. We also have city telephone numbers. These are generic phone numbers and not anybody's specific phone number. As well as ADA accommodations. Because this document and the city website is ADA compliant, we wanted to make sure that we gave the opportunity for each citizen to have the numbers for if they needed accommodations. And if all else, we want them to stay connected. We want them to know about our social media or watch, like tonight, our live council meetings, or just be in the know with our e-news. The last section is for the financial people. This appendix showcases our financial policies, as well as our schedules, our financial schedules, our proposed bonds and outstanding bonds, and our acronym guide. Not all citizens know what DUD is, and they can come to the very end and know that it's Drainage Utility District. So this is the ending of our sample. As you can see, we have created a story to tell the citizens of our future plans for the organization, engaging and educating along the way. Thank you for this opportunity to present this to you tonight. I will now hand it over to Casey Lay.
All right, good evening, y'all. I'm here just to kind of reiterate the things that you've been hearing this evening. So, as you know, this process is completely new. This document is completely new, and it all is a direct result of our citizen-led 2040 vision, which, as you know, had some pretty lofty goals, and in our estimation, we really think that staff picked up that baton and ran with it by creating this new inclusive process and beautiful document. Specifically, this process and the new document touch on the 2040 plan by supporting the first two pillars, which are perpetuating a learning environment and fostering an inclusive community fabric. Our 5-year forecast is no longer a dry, rigid financial plan. Now it is a dynamic and robust, colorful document that talks about our strategic plans without being just the spreadsheets, just the numbers. It gives them color and it gives them context. And as you heard, the purpose between all of these processes and this new document were really threefold. Those are our action words. That's going to be the engage, educate, and participate. The intent of this document, of this process, is to engage the community to participate in our long-range planning, to educate them on the why behind our projects and our service levels, and then finally offer a comprehensive resource for different ways that they can participate. And so what staff would like specifically from council this evening is any feedback on the new process or the format that you've seen tonight. From there, we'll incorporate that into a full-length document, which will be pushed out in the near future. And with that, I'll open up for any questions that you have about what you've seen tonight.
Well, thank you all. Very good presentation. Discussion, council?
My first question I was going to ask Jennifer, and Mike said probably not answerable here tonight. So just for future reference, so I'm going to ask it anyway. Thank you. Is there any way to estimate how many hours the departments, and I use plural there, spend on the budget each year?
Got 2 full-time people for sure. And then, I mean, because of SB2, we're starting earlier and earlier. They started February 2nd. So we're only 2.5 months in, and I can promise you they're looking at all their stuff weekly. And then next week, it'll be another 40 hours as we go into staff budget reviews.
Just probably at the end of the budget cycle, I'll ask that again, well, hopefully I'll be able to ask that again in October or August, so kind of keep that in mind. One of the things I'm very excited about this is, as you were all presenting this, I was thinking, gee, this sounds a lot like the 2040 plan. So I'm very excited to hear this. I think it's a wonderful example of the, I'm going to use usually what's a negative word, but unintended consequence of the 2040 plan that is absolutely going to be exactly what we were, envisioning back 4 years ago when that whole thing kicked off. So I'm very looking forward to see what you guys come up with.
Thank you.
Councilman John?
Thank you, Councilman Roden. I'm very impressed with the method, and it kind of got me excited that I want to read also. It's good as what I've seen, but is there a plan as to how these are going to be distributed or sent or given to the general public?
Yes, sir. Right now, the plan is after we get feedback tonight, we'll work on finalizing the full-length document. Like Tamara said, it's about 300 pages, which is why we needed to make it so pretty. But that should be out before the end of May for sure. We'll shoot it over to y'all for review before we push it out publicly, likely through some sort of social media campaign, clips, and those sorts of normal online activities. The best part about pushing it out electronically is, as Tamara said, in that participation section, we have all the different links. So if we have citizens or interested parties going to it, they can click directly off of the document itself.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Councilman Matthews?
Thank you, Councilman Gordon. Question for you. I'm looking at the website, our website. I'm looking at the departments. Where exactly are you going to be placing? Are you going to place this draft onto the website or not?
We can provide the same draft sample that we provided to y'all earlier in the week. We would likely put it on the government transparency page,
Okay.
along with all of the other previous 5-year plans.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at there. I didn't see much. Okay. I would like to see that online so people can see it and review it, and if they can send you feedback not just us. Citizens can also provide feedback.
We love that. That's the
Right.
participation piece.
Thank you.
You'll also be sending a draft copy fairly quickly to council?
Not sure about fairly quickly. It depends on what else comes out of here. We are still dealing with the changing winds down at the legislative level, and we don't want to be too early and publish something that the legislature changes the next week. So we'll be a little cautious on pushing out those final numbers, but we will give y'all a heads up and then get your review feedback before pushing it out to the general
I
public.
guess what I was looking for is just a copy of this presentation to where, you went through it fairly quickly. It'd be nice for us to be able to look at those draft pages a little more closely, maybe.
Okay. And say, I know that those went out Tuesday on Tidbits, and I have them on your SharePoint. I can resend that link if you would like. That's what you're seeing tonight, are those sample pages. Yes, sir.
Other questions? Discussion?
Casey, excellent job to you as sort of the budget coordinator and the one to go to if you don't like the budget, right? In hiding the drab process of doing a budget. Now, you and I like that fine because that's kind of how we grew up. But the general public has no, to them, they see that thing, particularly if it's 300 pages long, and that just goes, it just goes away. Number one, they're not going to print out anything. Number two, they're not going to pay a lot of attention to it. I mean, it's just like you might as well not give them anything. So this is great that you've been able to hide this in a little storybook, and so you and I know it's a budget, but they may not even know that it's really actually a budget, working budget that would be interested in using in strategic planning through the future years. So it sounds like potentially, I haven't, obviously we haven't seen the product, but I like the potential anyway.
Thank you. And like you said, we like the spreadsheets. The reason this is such a great story and is so pretty is Tamara Smith, who you all heard from this evening.
Other discussion? Yeah, I've got to admit, when I was a newly minted engineering graduate from A&M, I'd be saying, where are the spreadsheets? But I've learned in my career that not everybody learns the same. And so it's important for us to provide the same information in different approaches. So if I understood you right, the information that will come out in the final form in May will essentially have the same projection information that we've received in the past, but will be in this new format.
Yes, sir.
As far as the information, there's no change in what we're getting as far as the projection.
Correct. The bottom line numbers would be similar in bottom line. It's just the presentation has so much more context,
Right.
and offers up more of that educational piece to someone who hasn't sat through that budget process.
Perfect. Good. Thank you.
Oh, no, we do not.
Yeah.
It's just, we just go out 5 years. If you remember, there was a long range outlook. We're not doing that in this document.
So the 20-year stuff that we used to look at that really didn't make any sense because it just showed the tax rate going through the roof because that's just the way the numbers grew.
Yes.
I think that's just personal. I think it's great to take that out because it was really didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
we stop at the 5 years.
Any other changes of significance?
No, I think it's mainly just the format on how it's being presented. I mean, the CIP stuff is still in there. The debt stuff is still in there.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you still using like the 2.5% annual average rate to move forward?
Not this coming year. No, we will not. But yes, we still have an assumption page that we put in there. These are our assumptions that we're following.
Okay, thank you.
There other discussion? So maybe this is a lead-in into your next segment about schedule. If this comes out at the end of May, when will council have an opportunity after we've digested it to ask questions and talk through the numbers with you?
We're happy to come back on a work session.
Okay. That probably would be a great idea, because I'm sure once we see the numbers, there'll be a lot of questions. Good. Okay. You have anything to add, Mr. Land?
In relation to the last question, there will be an overlap because of the 5-year plan and the way, when she gets into the calendar this year, the way the budget works. And so you're going to see this year for 2021, 22, to your question on the 2.5% growth and so forth. The Dallas County Appraisal District informed us that our best laid plan is to use basically static. And so that's why she answered the question that she did, that there won't be this 2.5% growth for this coming year's budget, which has an impact on how we do the actual budget for 21, 22. And as far as the rest of the assumptions, through inflation and those types of things, those will be as part of the assumptions. But as far as the property values portion, that's the part that'll be a little bit different this year. And then, of course, we're all reading what's happening in the paper, not to predict what happens, but going in the out years, you will see some growth in the property valuations in the out years. You just won't see it this year. So I know Casey's getting ready to talk about the calendar, so I'll let her do that. But let me add this. Today, Jennifer sent a message to me that Standard & Poor's affirmed the AAA rating for the city of Coppell. And I will tell you that when we went through the interview process 2 weeks ago, I guess Tuesday, or a week ago Tuesday. Yeah, it was a week ago Tuesday. And it was in the draft of the write-up we saw this afternoon, and we still have some things to work through. The main thing that they've said is they use the term stable a lot for the city of Coppell. So stability is really important for them. They recognize that our financial picture is going to look different as a result of sales tax and SB2. But the fact that we have such a tradition and strength in the planning and the forecasting and the budgeting, that those all, I don't know how they score, but let's just say they score our points really high as a result of the work that the staff and the council does through the forecasting and through the budgeting process. And because of that, again, the city of Coppell, I still believe of 9 cities in Texas, there may be a few more now, but we're still the smallest city in Texas that has the AAA rating, both by Standard & Poor's and right now by Moody's, and we should hear something from Moody's here pretty shortly. So the forecast model is extremely important to the council and to the organization because we use that as a great foundation for us to build from a budgetary standpoint. So the work that you've done in the past sets you up for the success you're having today. The work that you're doing today sets you up for the success that you have in the future. That's why this forecast is so important to what we do. And when we do go through it with you, yes, there is a story there for the citizens and everything. At the back of that, though, is the gears and everything else as far as the financial strength of the community. And that is the direct result of your council's direction and working in partnership with the staff and the citizens so that the city of Coppell can continue to receive and have that affirmation of the AAA rating, which in turn saves money for the citizens of Coppell because it keeps our debt rate as far as inflation is concerned or interest rates at the lowest possible rate. So it has tremendous benefits. So all this work, to your point, of the hours you spend during the summer, woohoo, as far as what goes into it, and the many, many hours that the staff puts into it, it's for a purpose, right? And being purposeful and decisive in those things is extremely important for us to go forward so that we can have the stability that the rating agencies, who is a third party, independent of us, they have no relationship to us at all. They're just looking at numbers. They're looking at the stability of the council. They're looking at the stability of the staff, and they're making their best credit rating judgment based on that information. So the forecast, while it's 300 pages, the ones that count are the numbers, but the story is important too, so people understand exactly what their money's being used for and how it's being utilized, and what their responsibility is as citizens to be an active participant in that process and to be active participants in the community to make it the strong community that it is. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak just on what the forecast is all about.
Well, thank you. Congratulations to all of you that's put a lot of time into both preparing the information and participating in the interview with Standard & Poor's, and we'll anxiously await the Moody's report. Now, I assume that we'll receive those reports, Council will, when they're available?
Well, what will happen is you have the CO sale. I had to stop and think for just a moment, is going to be on the April 27th. You're going to get the whole story on April 27th, so you'll have all that information.
Awesome. Good. All right. Any other questions, discussion on the presentation? Okay. So next on our agenda is a discussion of the budget calendar. Is that you, Casey?
That is me.
All right.
Y'all get to hear me talk for a little bit longer. So these are just the important dates for y'all to keep in your calendar, keep in your brain as we go forward with the budget process. If you'll recall, Senate Bill 2 went into effect with the current year budget, fiscal year 21, meaning that to give us the flexibility to meet all of the deadlines regarding an election in November, we basically had to move most of our action items up a month. Staff now begins February planning for the upcoming year. We start reaching out to y'all now in May for the crime control public hearing. Our crime control district has all the council members, save the mayor, as its crime control board. So whenever we have this public hearing, it will be right before the regular council meeting, and you will all meet as the crime control board and not as city council. At that point, you'll hear the first little bits about the fiscal year 22 budget as it specifically relates to crime control, and the crime control board will vote on approving that budget. The next time you'll hear from us in person will be the July 8th budget workshop. We have 3 budget workshops scheduled for this year. The first one is all about our service organization presentations, the water and sewer fund, and the special revenue funds. That next day on your calendar, the July 9th, talks about the legally required proposed budget filing. This was something that also came with the new condensed schedule from SB2. We are now required to adopt about a month earlier than we had historically, and the Texas Local Government Code says that we must publish some version of a proposed budget at least 30 days prior to adoption, which for us puts that on that July 9th date. This will be that condensed estimated budget like was provided last year, significantly shorter than the full-length proposed budget that will be filed with the city secretary and provided to the public by the August 5th filing deadline. On July 20th, that will be our second budget workshop, and that is going to be the discussion on the general fund and debt service expenditures, and that's whenever we really start talking about property tax rates. On July 25th every year, that is the deadline for the appraisal districts to provide staff with our certified values. We are planning on that being July 5th or July 25th this year. Hopefully the pandemic won't delay them any further like it did last year. Once we have those certified values, staff is able to calculate a more concrete tax rate and revenue structure so that we can revise those documents and then meet back with you July 29th at our final budget workshop to discuss those values and get final input from you before we publish the full-length proposed budget. This year, after the publication on August 5th, The first meeting in August will be the night that we have the public hearings on both the tax rate and the budget, and it will also be the same night that we adopt the budget. Do we have any questions on the calendar so far?
Looks like another fun and exciting summer. Thank you for reviewing it. Questions from council? No? Glad to see our candidates still are in the room after hearing all of that.
The fun stuff.
Wes?
I got to go back up and look. July 8th, where we hear our service organizations, are we going to follow the same format for those that we've done over the last several years?
Yes, sir, unless you'd like to make any changes.
No, not at this point.
Okay. And,
At least not from me.
and just to make everybody aware, those applications are online and they're due at the end of this month.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All right. That is all that we have on our agenda this evening. I just want to tell the staff thank you very much. You guys could have just kept doing what we've always done, but it's pretty exciting to see both the innovative way that the information is presented and the tie-in to the 2040 plan, and it's particularly exciting to see how each of the departments. Thank you, Officer Lujan, for giving us some insight into how the departments are seeing this. So it's exciting stuff, and as always, we thank you. With that, we will adjourn at 6:46. Thank you.